So for people of colour, specifically black people, being in white spaces can be uncomfortable. It can be uncomfortable because that's usually where racism will occur. And they can be quite othering for people of colour, because their culture may be at odds with the culture that is prevailing in this space. They may be misunderstood. Their appearance may differ from that of most of the inhabitants in that space. So it can bring up a lot of feelings of unease, and also feeling like they may have to change themselves in some way to fit in with that space.
It wasn't until later on in school, when I got a little bit older, that I realised that I was different. And that difference wasn't based on the things I liked or the way I spoke or the way I dressed. It was based on how I looked. It started very small, from maybe being pointed out in school that my hair was different. One of the key memories that I remember being in school, I think I was in secondary school by this point, and I had spoken to a teacher about something in the middle of class. She had then said she had forgotten something. I can't remember what it was now. It might have been a book or something for our subject. And I kissed my teeth. And it was at that point that I realised that not only am I different and I look different and everybody sees me as different, but that I probably speak a little bit differently too, that I have a different way of expressing myself. I'll never forget that moment, because my teacher at that time called me to the office later on in the day and I got detention. Apparently I was being rude when I kissed my teeth. If anything, I was in my brain identifying with her frustration that she had forgotten this thing, and my response was, but she didn't take it as that. She took it as a sign of disrespect. And I think for me, from then on, I soon became to realise that I also had to be mindful around certain groups of people in certain situations, how I spoke and my dialect and my tone and how I use certain words and phrases that for me were home languages, that with some people that they wouldn't identify with them.
Particularly when I went to uni, I was the only black girl, one of two black girls in a very big group, and it was just stereotypes and laughing about it. Just even the way they said my name, talking about like all the stereotypes associated with black people. And the few times that I did say something, I was called sassy, I was called aggressive, and everyone just turned on me and they made me feel so isolated.
Okay, so you can see that I'm already black, and you can see that I speak this way or I have these certain gestures. But for your benefit, I'm going to somehow tone that down. And it's an unspoken thing sometimes. And I found it even in older life. I found it in jobs where I walk into a room and the panel sat in front of me interviewing me look nothing like me, and probably don't come from where I come from, and haven't grown with the same cultural beliefs or the same culture and traditions that I have. They don't have the same views on life that I necessarily do. And you find yourself making sure you're being presentable and accepted somehow. And like I said, nobody ever tells you these are the rules. And I suppose for a lot of people who I've met along the way in work and in my career aren't aware that I'm pushing myself to present in a certain way. I'm sure they're not asking me to. It's not a verbal thing. It's nothing that we all speak about, but it's there.
I think the more professional the environment is, the more microaggressions you're going to experience, and always to do with, like, I don't know, the way I speak or the way I look, and it just weighs you down.
They teach us their history, but erase ours. They teach us their language, but condemn ours. They indulge in our culture, but hate us. They love our skin, but hate the shades it comes in. They call it the free world, but yet they cage us. They've colonized our minds and refuse to free us.
So, growing up, I hated my hair. So I grew up in a predominantly sort of white area, and I went to a primary school where I had predominantly white friends. That kind of continued into secondary school, where I was probably one of a handful of people of black ethnicity mix at all. And I really, really hated just the fact that I couldn't make my hair straight like other girls. I couldn't have the same hairstyles as other girls. So I actually joined a dance group when I was about 14, 15, which had a lot more people, all sorts of mix of colours there. That's when I was like, oh my God, her hair looks really good. And she had it all out and she was dancing around with it and it looked great. And it was more getting education of actually how to deal with my own hair. So my mum used to take me to a white hairdresser, so she didn't really know how to deal with my hair that much. And then so once I found a hairdresser that could actually style it a little bit, after I'd had it cut, I could come out the hairdresser's feeling like, oh, it actually looks all right, for once down. That's when I felt more comfortable with my hair, and my relationship with my hair then got a lot better. And since I've been older and I can deal with that, I actually love the fact that I've got curly hair. I love it. I feel like my hair speaks volumes now, as in that is what you look at when you can tell that I have black in me of some sort. My relationship with my hair is a lot better now and I wouldn't change it, and I love the fact that I have curls.
What has your relationship to your hair been like?
So up until the past 2 years I've had braids in my hair. I'm quite straight, so almost personally to make it easier in looking after it, but also just to stop people touching it, to kind of just take attention away from me, almost by fitting in, just so I wouldn't have to be the subject of questions. When I took my braids out, someone said, oh, you're finally taking those things out of your hair. And I was like, they're braids, they're extensions. I've seen loads of girls of all different ethnicities have extensions. Why is it such a thing to me? So when I had my natural hair, people felt entitled to touch it, to question me about it. And it's just no matter what I do, it's always going to be a topic of conversation. From a young age, I've always felt really ugly because of my skin colour, because I'm so dark skinned. I've definitely noticed a treatment of a different treatment because I'm usually the darkest skinned one.
The worst thing is in pictures, and obviously you can't see me as clearly as you might see lighter skinned people or white people, and people have laughed. They've said, oh my God, you're so black, you're so dark, we can't see you. And it's hurtful. It's actually really hurtful. I've hated that. My skin tone has been compared to the colour of dirt. It's been compared to the colour of poo a couple of times.
When there's a mixed race person or a light skinned person, they say, oh, they're so pretty, because of their skin colour rather than just because they're pretty. And hearing that just makes you think, so I must not be because I'm darker. Seeing hair commercials, perfume commercials where the majority white, and even when they are black, they are very, very light skinned.
To you, my skin is a weapon. It's something that you fear. You don't see who I am, and you choose not to hear. Because it's in the UK, it's not that bad. Because we aren't in America, we should be glad. My brothers and sisters are the ones that are dying. Just because it's a metaphor, I should too be crying. The situation is more than what meets the eye. One person shot, dead, gone, and I just want to cry. There's no fight in me left. The white supremacists put my voice to rest. The bare minimum we want is equality. Politicians need in solidarity. Make the policy. To you, I'm not worth the trouble. You push me away into my own little bubble. You label me as ghetto, unprofessional, and more. I open my mouth to say the smallest thing, you assume I'm going to roar. I refuse to be silenced. I refuse to be noiseless. I refuse to be inaudible. I refuse to be voiceless. It's my time to speak up. It's my time for improvement. This is not a Black Lives Matter moment. This is a Black Lives Matter movement. Justice for Jordan, Christopher, George, and all others. Justice for Shaniqua, Rakisha, Brianna, and those who had crying mothers. Justice for the unjustly prosecuted. Justice for the forced muted. My skin is not a weapon. My voice is the real one.
Do you feel you've benefited from white privilege?
Yeah, of course. I think every white person benefits from white privilege.
Not without my intentions of being treated that way, but definitely yes. I can't say I've ever come across a time in my employment history where I felt like I've been judged on the colour of my skin.
Why do you think, like, in general, white people have such a hard time with kind of, like, talking about white privilege?
I suppose, well, some people just don't think it's a thing. And then I think some people are... You don't want to say something wrong or that could be potentially offensive, and probably just like embarrassment as well. Like, embarrassment that it's gone on this long.
How will you implement anti-racism into your life?
If you witness racism, call it out. In my personal life, I suppose, most racism occurs when there are no black people actually around. It's just behind closed doors. They don't say it to black people, which, I don't know what's worse, really.
I know that I benefit from white privilege. Even though I'm a mixed person, I know my skin is very, very, very light. And most people will assume that I am white. And because of this, I can tell in comparison with my peers that I get a different treatment. I have a white sounding name, so nobody assumes anything about my ethnicity. People are generally comfortable around me. I've never noticed that anybody has kind of seen me coming down the street and walked the other way. Because I'm assumed to be white, a lot of the time in white spaces people will say racist things when I'm there, because again my skin kind of makes people feel comfortable, makes people think I'm on the same page. And while I've struggled, I know that it's not due to the colour of my skin or the pigment of my skin.
This is the revolution, yet we see no retribution. We are marching against the hate using the privilege you received on a plate. I can't breathe, please, George cries as the officer leant on his neck when he died. This is not murder, it's self-defence. Well, that's the part that doesn't make sense. Our government is corrupt and works against us. We don't have anyone to defend us. Our whole lives we have been oppressed. This is why we need to protest. We'll do what it takes to get our rights, because together we can take their fights. I can't breathe, 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 I can't breathe. Eric Garner pleaded, yet we don't see the justice that is needed. Should the colour of my skin decide my fate, or is it time to rise against the hate? A riot is the language of the unheard. Why they can't hear us? It's just absurd. They can do what they want, you can't hurt the hurt. But we are done being treated like dirt. White privilege isn't a thing, we hear that chatter, but we'll always remember, black lives do matter.
The one thing I want to see change is stop treating me differently just because of the way I look. You don't have to be awkward around me. I'm probably more awkward around you, so I just want things to just feel like we're just humans at the end of the day. And I want people that work in professional environments to understand what is okay and what is not okay, because I'm not an educator, so I can't be teaching you the language you should be using on behalf of a whole race.
Question people more, because if you don't challenge, people will continue with that behaviour because they think it's fine and it's normal.
Even though I know I will never understand, I stand because I think it's really important that we use our voices to fight against injustice and inequality, and that we fight for a better world for our future generations.
The way that we educate ourselves in not just our history, but also people around us, their different histories. I'd like to see, obviously, a change in the education system in terms of Black history. I don't think it's promoted enough.
It's everyone being treated as equal, but also that kind of, to me, sounds like, I don't know, a bit like wishy-washy. It's about recognition of what Black people have been through for hundreds of years because of white people.
Black people have suffered so much, and yet they continue to succeed. They continue to be leaders, they continue to be innovators, they continue to be creators, and they give so much back, despite what has been taken away from them. And I think that needs to be celebrated more. I think that needs to be talked about more.
So I've been to university and then I did a master's degree. I'm a writer. People come to me to proofread their work and to edit things like that. It's the one of the very few places where I feel that as a Black woman, I excel.
Whilst I was academic and able, because of my own personal situation and my experiences from being a looked after child, it meant that I didn't have the space or the capacity to focus solely on education at that time. I've been to university 3 times now and I've achieved that. One of the things I've done in my career is that I've set a path for myself that focuses on supporting other care experienced young people in education and helping them to aspire and want to achieve in education.
So something that I am most proud of myself for doing is definitely going and getting a degree. It's not necessarily something that I never thought I could achieve, but it was just not something that I actually thought I would go on and do. And that's led me to get the job that I've got today, which is managing a team of people, which I never thought I'd be someone's manager. Like, that to me sounded like way too high up of a position for me to do.
What's going on, people? My name is Jamal O'Driscoll. I'm the artistic director of O'Driscoll Collective. And today I just want to share with you a bit of my experience and my story. I'm a professional dancer, choreographer, producer, owner of my own business. And through this, we have delivered multiple projects that are outreach, teaching, performances, digital performances, such as for BBC, Birmingham's National Dance Festival, Hunters Hill, many different places in terms of that, which has been an amazing achievement. But the most amazing thing is the impact that it's made to other people, and that I have the ability to share what I've learned through dance. I knew it was really important to get a degree as a person of colour, and specifically Black, as an inspiration and to move forward for other people, which was lucky enough to achieve. And from that, learning lessons through dance, education, commitment, discipline, and all these amazing things, to now be able to kind of live my dream and try and inspire and motivate people to do the same also. So whoever's listening to this video, what I want to say is all about trying to be a better you, trying to push past your own barriers, do what you believe you can't do, don't break the law but break the rules, and when you get there, how can you give back to others or give another step to other people to showcase their voice.